what John Mahama said in response. When I come back, I'll introduce my guests and the conversation will begin. This is Morning Update. I am Erica Hianyo.
Destroying our economy. Apart from plunging Ghana into crisis, one of the things this government wants to do is to rewrite our history. And we shall not allow them to rewrite our history. Because the president said he does not accept that one person can be the founder of a nation. Yes, founding a nation, it takes many people, but there's always that critical one person whose sacrifice and efforts is what finally leads to the attainment of the objective that everybody is working for. And so if you ask South Africans, who is the founder of modern day South Africa, they'll tell you Mandela. But it was not Mandela alone. There was Oliver Tambo, there was Govan Mbeki, and so many of them who fought the armed struggle to achieve independence for South Africa from apartheid. But it was Mandela's sacrifice, being in prison for 20-something years and being the symbol of the struggle, that makes them say Mandela is the founder of modern day South Africa. It is the same thing with Ghana. If you ask Ghanaians who is the founder of Ghana, who gained independence for Ghana, majority of Ghanaians will tell you Osajifo Dr. Kwame Nkrumah. Because it was him who gave that critical spark to the independence struggle that eventually got us independence. The UGCC at the time said independence gradually in the shortest possible time. Nkrumah said independence now. And he fought for it. And that is why Ghanaians recognize him as the founder. Nobody can come and rewrite our history. Indeed, for those of you who don't know it, when the Queen finally agreed to give Ghana independence, the UGCC that Nana Akufo-Addo is fighting to be recognized as founders of Ghana wrote a petition. They sent people to England to tell the Queen, don't grant independence, we are not ready yet. And so how can people like that be either, even if we are saying many people fought for independence, you cannot say UGCC was part of it, because they were an obstacle to independence. And eventually when the motion of destiny for independence was being passed, these are the same people who walked out of parliament when Nkrumah was moving the motion of destiny. And so today you can't come and rewrite our history. July 1st is our Republic Day. And we also made it our Senior Citizens Day. They've come to take the holiday from July 1st and gone to put it on August 4th, which is the day the UGCC was founded. When we come to office, we'll rectify those things. July 1st will be a holiday again.
So that was the flag bearer of the NDC, John Dramani Mahama. He spoke in the Bolga East constituency last night as he wrapped up the day's activities. My guests are three. The first is the Bolga East MP, a former Deputy Attorney General, Dr. Ayene. You are welcome to Wezo TV and Morning Update.
Thank you very much for having me.
The other in the middle is Mahama Yarega, is the MP for Boku Central. And then, of course, the spokesperson for John Mahama's campaign team, Joyce Ba Muktare, is also sitting close to me. Joyce, you are welcome.
Thank you.
What makes this conversation unique is that all the three of you are lawyers. Maybe if I had to rewrite history, I would say I would have.
Well, Eric, you know, in the history of our country, in the march towards independence, the UGCC was the most prominent political action group in the 1940s. All right, they invited Nkrumah to join them, and he came just as a young, secretary or general. And when he saw that they were a very slow group of people, when he saw that they were conservative, they wanted some kind of accommodation with the colonial masters. They did not want us to march forward at the pace that would have resulted in early independence. That was when he formed the CPP. And when he formed the CPP, the UGCC basically denigrated them, called them veranda boys. They were not intellectuals. They were not the elite of this country, and so on and so forth. But then, from that base, he managed to emerge the most prominent fighter for our independence, together with his veranda boys and girls. Okay, so he left them, behind, smoking the dust, so to speak, in the fight for independence. And I think they were ashamed. Look, these were lawyers, okay, professionals, doctors, medical doctors, rich businessmen. Pa Grant and Co. were the millionaires of the Gold Coast. Only for this young upstart, to come and then put the spark, as H.E. put it. H.E. is a student of history. He's a historian. So he understands the historical dynamics more than most of us. And he put it so beautifully that Nkrumah provided the spark. And that is what is more, important. If you take every country, as he said, in South Africa, it was Nelson Mandela. Because of the way Mandela was very tenacious, he was willing to sacrifice, was in jail for 27 years. Okay, the South Africans consider him the founder of modern day South Africa. If you take India, Mahatma Gandhi. Gandhi was not the only person who was fighting for India's independence. But from the time that he left South Africa in the 1940s back to India, Nehru and the rest of them were there, already fighting for India's independence. But eventually, it was Gandhi who emerged as the founder of modern day India. So for me, it is very unsettling for the current government in particular. The Kufuor faction did not try to do this. I think they made some attempts, but they were not as bold, and as shameless as this current government in trying to rewrite history. The history is already written. If you take every Ghanaian, the average Ghanaian, okay, and you ask them, as H.E. said, who is the founder of modern Ghana, they will tell you Kwame Nkrumah. Most people do not know who J.B. Dankwa is. Most people do not know who Nana Akufo-Addo's father is. Yes, he was a ceremonial president in 1969, but that is all about it. And so the attempt to rewrite history, for me, is not surprising, because they failed, their grandfathers failed, to take the mantle of being the founders of modern day Ghana. And I think that is what they are trying to do, to clean up, the image of their failed grandfathers, in order to make them, stand shoulder to shoulder with Osajifo, Dr. Kwame Nkrumah. But they will fail, as H.E. has said. Okay, so Dr. Dominic Aini, that's your opening remark. But let me come to you, Mahama Yarega. This particular conversation brings back what some would see as one side of the story, because this government is making an attempt to pump into the minds of the youth what they think must be told about them. We've heard stories before where a minister of state goes publicly and says that we have taken back our country. There are incidents that we have observed that suggest that a group of people think that they have that right to do things the way it should be. August 4 being a holiday, July 1st taken out, do they have to be legalized, or by the stroke of a pen anybody could do it, as we heard the former president say, for example, that when he comes back we'll take back July 1st and institute it as should be after we gained independence?
Well, let me get back to the crowds and the reception that we received yesterday. Bolga East was the last very impressive gathering, but I think that it was the whole day, starting from Binduri, where His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, our candidate, was warmly received in Binduri, and you saw that there was a very impressive gathering there as well. And then Zebila was equally very, very impressive, and the same was repeated in Nabdam. So in the Upper East, you can see that overwhelmingly the people are yearning for the return of John Dramani Mahama, and we look forward to seeing similar sites of enthusiasm and commitment to work towards the return of John Dramani Mahama to the Flagstaff House to redeem this country. On the issue of history, I think that John Dramani Mahama himself is part of the history. He's part of the history because his own father was a minister in the Nkrumah government for a very long period at the central government level, and at a certain point as the minister in the Northern Territories. So John Dramani Mahama himself is part of that history, and the MPP tradition for a very long time has tried to contest that history. I understand the dynamics of history being contested, and so anytime that they have the opportunity, they try as much as they can to contest the history in an effort to undermine the pivotal role of Nkrumah in establishing Ghana as a state. And let's not forget that the reason why Nkrumah is the founder of Ghana is not just his spark, if I may put it that way, and the role that he played in igniting the struggle, accelerating it. Indeed, the UGCC themselves recognized his capacity and his talent. That's why they brought him down and, resourced him to lead the struggle and the organization. But for me, people who discuss it miss the critical point. Why is Ghana a united country today? Why are we so integrated as a people? It is because of Nkrumah's vision. First, if you recall, the UGCC tradition at the dawn of independence were struggling for a federal state. A federal state is a more divided system. But Nkrumah fought for a unitary state. And it is because he fought for a unitary state that today we are a united people that are the envy of the rest of West Africa. They don't understand why we have different tribes, we have different ethnicities, and yet as a country we are a united people. Because Nkrumah resisted every effort to divide us as a people, and extended it to policies of integration such as education, how to grow a population that has a consciousness of being a united people. And so his boarding school policies, his educational program was aimed at building that consciousness. And he went beyond that, how to equalize the South and the North divide. And so infrastructure was aimed at making sure that he brought the lower end at least to the middle, so that they can also feel part of the system. So it's for me these policies that define a founder, not necessarily the organization to attain independence. Even though the records are clear, no matter what the NPP says, the records are clear. But the founding of a nation goes beyond fighting for independence. It is after independence what you do to actually build nationhood. And if you look at the major infrastructure that he envisioned and built in order to really accelerate our coalescence as a nation, such as industry, and yesterday when we went to your constituency, one of the key requests of the chief was, what are you going to do to revive the Kwalugu meat factory, the Zorungu meat factory? Are you getting the situation? Then the Kwalugu tomato factory. If you look at Nkrumah's effort, to integrate the nation, he tried to promote industry across board. And he didn't say it, and after 8 years, people didn't see it. Within the period that he was there, people actually saw him establish the factories across the country, so that in every area where they had potential, he made sure that they realized those potentials. And then, created the energy base that will move the country, and that was Akosombo. So, for me, it is these actions, programs, projects, policies that he forcefully, tried to implement and execute, that define him as a founder. Not necessarily, in my opinion, what happened before independence, but what also happened after independence is, for me, even more critical in defining a person. So no matter what the NPP does, no matter how much they try to brainwash the children, no matter how much they try to rewrite the history books, I believe that it is the responsibility of historians, real historians, not those who, from Edibwahi's time, started trying to contest history, started trying to write history in a way that favored their fathers and grandfathers, but objective historians writing the history, doing the analysis objectively, and establish for our people what really a founder means. Because you see, the idea of a founding father is to define the vision of a country. What is the vision? A united people. Who really fought for it? Nkrumah. What is the vision? Equal opportunities for all. Who fought for it? Nkrumah. What is the vision? Balanced development that will make all of us feel part of the country and own the country. Who defined that? Nkrumah. These are the things, and these are the values that we want to project to the young people, so that as they grow up, they fight for this as what is meant to define our country. That is what it is about.
It's very instructive. Let me come to you, Joyce. Should we be wasting our energy on this? Because I was reading a post by Professor Ransford Jampo, and I want to read it. It says, those who are frustrated, or those who frustrated the fight for independence, aren't insisting they are founders of Ghana in their graves. Latter-day Saints cannot cry more than the bereaved. What Ayefe Noche attitude is this? We know our history, so the conversation is even going beyond what we are doing here. Everybody's talking about it. Should we be wasting our energy on this?
Well, very good morning to everybody, and thank you to the Upper East Region. Thank you to our party executive, our members of parliament, H.E. John Dramani Mahama, and the campaign team. We've been here for the last 3 days. Today we start day 3 of the first phase of the 2024 campaign, and we are very, very grateful to the Almighty Father for seeing us through safely and bringing us to this day. Look, I am not very, very big on history, but at least we know one thing for certain. And it is settled law and it's trite learning that Osajefo Dr. Kwame Nkrumah wanted independence now. And he wanted a Ghana as we see it today. A Ghana that all of us would wake up in the morning and feel proudly Ghanaian and nothing more or less. I think that this is exactly what it is. For all of us who come from the then Northern Territories, as we used to be called, this is a very, very emotional and emotive subject matter. And so I think that what we all should do is to rally around the call that has been made by H.E. John Dramani Mahama himself. Indeed, sometimes I wonder how the current flag bearer of the NPP feels, because we all know what his own father and the roles that he himself had played in the course of that historic event. There are hazards, of course, in the Parliament of the United Kingdom also to support this particular conversation. And of course, when we try to have these conversations, let's remember that there was that individual who played a pivotal role in insisting that we wanted independence now, and we wanted independence for each and every one, not just for a few. And he never spoke about sharing our liabilities and the things that we owned at the Gold Coast then. So please, I think that this is a settled matter. There's really no need to come back and try to rewrite our history. And yes, I do agree with Mr. Ayaraga that all of our historians should be up and doing. Sometimes it is also for the lack of intellectual stimulation that these sorts of things actually rear their heads. Because think about it, who fights for independence from the grave? I mean, certainly history has been fairer even to those other founders, if I might call them that. But let's all admit that history has also indicated, and the world agrees, that Osajefo Dr. Kwame Nkrumah is the founder of Ghana's independence, because he led the struggle, he was the voice of the struggle, he was actually the person around which all of these voices literally resonated, and his message was very, very clear. You know, last night there was something very beautiful, and then I said, this is Nkrumah's Ghana. When a queen mother here in the Upper East region, in Zwarungu to be precise, spoke impeccable Gonja, beautiful Gonja, and then immediately after she translated everything she said in her own language. I thought that was amazing. So look, let's cherish the things that make us Ghanaians. Let's focus more on the things that affect us. Look, bread and butter issues, poverty. Ghana's debt stock is over 750 billion and counting. We were told this week that 18 million cedis is being expended every quarter on maintaining peace here in the Upper East region. Maybe this amount should have been given to the members of parliament here and the stakeholders here to find ways to utilize these resources in a meaningful way so as to remove all matters that border on conflict.